So do you want to use those new APIs, but you're not really sure how to do it in your current project? Well, I got something to show you today. My name is Ricky. Welcome to the Dev Method. There's a video out for how to prepare for WWDC 2021. There's just one part of it that talks about how do you use the new APIs if you want to just try them out. So sometimes people just create a brand new project. Other times you want to try it in your existing project and see how it works, or you're looking to upgrade your old project. But a lot of the new things that they announce are for the newer iOS version and greater. So how would you go about doing that and upgrading your code? Well, in my opinion, I've never really found a project that was organized so well that we could do the newer iOS features alongside other iOS versions. We kind of just stuck with whatever the oldest iOS version features were and then built up from there. It's not a bad thing. There's plenty to look forward to. There's a lot of really great features in there. Like table views really haven't changed all that much, but they've been adding on features, and those new features are only available in the newer iOS versions and greater. So you can't really start taking advantage of them until you do some of these things that I'm about to show you. So I have an application here. This is called Glorious Navigation. So Glorious Navigation is all about just navigating to different things in a tab bar, and also with navigation controllers as well. So here's the thing. This app has a minimum iOS target for 11.4. So that and greater. So there's going to be new things I want to use, and for some reason I just can't, right? Because I want to use scene delegates. That's going to be our example today. So what is a scene delegate? The idea is for a certain version or greater, you can actually have like multiple windows side by side. Say for like your iPad, for example, you want like a Safari window on one side and then another Safari window on the same iPad side by side. You want to look at two websites at the same time. You would have thought, well, I just need to open up just multiple tabs. I can't have both open at the same time. Well, that's what this scene delegate helps you to start doing. There's other things in there about scene delegates too. Like you'll have to use it for anything with like Swift UI. So if you start a brand new project today in Xcode, you're going to get the scene delegate, but in your existing projects, you will not have it there. So we're going to skip all the stuff about like actually learning what a scene delegate is, and we're just talking about I want to use this new feature and I want to do it in an older project or a project that has to support multiple versions back for iOS. So how would we do that? So I have here an app delegate, and I'm going to show you some of what it does. And right now this app delegate is super simple. I'm sure yours are a lot larger and a lot bigger. And this is the code that I'm coming across. Some of this code doesn't change for a long time, at least in the applications I've touched. So I have this like tab bar controller subclass here, and it's, I have some children, and then I'm assigning that to the view controller's property of that tab bar controller, and then wrapping that in a navigation controller, and then setting that as the Windows root view controller. That's all this is doing. If you need to research any of these things, I'd suggest option clicking, say on UI window, learn a little about it here. Quite a bit to learn, but regardless, the scene delegate that we want to use, the thing is that we can set up our own window in the scene delegate, so it's no longer just the apps thing. But how do we use like the scene delegate with its own window versus an application with its own window? So the application delegate kind of sits on top of everything, and it'll always still exist. The scene delegates are just an added feature on top of this. So I have to save the old stuff. So what's the first step? Like, what do I do? Well, let's go ahead, and if I just do a couple returns here, let's just find that scene. Okay, looking for it here. Here it is. Boom. Okay, so it's application configuration for connecting scene session, and then with options needs to return a scene configuration. So I'm just going to stub this out. So I'm just going to put fatal error there. That means it never returns, and it's just going to crash when it gets to that. So here's what you get. You get all these issues. What is it saying? The first thing it's telling me is that UI scene session is only available in iOS 13 or newer. So why am I getting this? That's because, again, our application's minimum deployment target is set to iOS 11.4 and greater. So we have an option here. We could just say, okay, well, take out any users that are iOS 11 and 12, and let's just say the minimum deployment target is 13. That is an option. But depending on your app, that might not be the best option. You have to take a look at your analytics possibly. I don't know. That's a big question. That's a business question. That's not necessarily a purely technical question. But that's one option we could do. Now, since I know the goal is to set up a window inside the scene and not necessarily the app delegate, but then also keep it backwards compatible for the older versions, we're going to run into some issues here. So what I have to do, I just put at available. This is an annotation that UIKit, I think, is giving you. And I'm going to say iOS 13, comma's important, star. And what that says is that when the compiler looks at this, the only time you can call this code is when you're on iOS 13. So that's that. So that's that fatal error there. So that's what we're going to get right now. How do I know what happens? Well, I could run this application. What we would find is that application did finish launching would work, and then it would actually try and, since it knows that we have implemented this function, at least on iOS 13, it would try and call this, and it would crash because of the fatal error. But I'm on iPhone. Let's see, an iPhone 10, 11.4 is the iOS version. So if I run this, so I'm going to run it right now just to show you, we're actually going to be just fine. And this would be our first introduction to what this tiny application actually looks like as well. So no crashes, right? That's because iOS 11.4, although there's no more software updates for it, but we have this newer code for iOS 13, it doesn't know about this method that we have, so it's just not going to call it. But this is what that thing looks like. So I'm just clicking through these invisible tab icons at the bottom just to show you it's a couple different colors. I call it a color view controller, and I'm just showing you that it's transitioning from color to color. And that's the different view controllers or the different tabs that you might see at the bottom of the screen. So it didn't crash, so that's great. So I'll stop that. But now let's go to iOS 13. Let's run this. Got another iPhone 10 on 13.2.2. Don't know why I have that one, but that's just what I chose. And what we're going to expect to see is a crash. So this is like the iterative development part. This is just try something new every single time, right? All right, let's see what happens. Fatal error, exactly what I expected. All right, cool. So we're on track. So how do I know that these are both called at the same time? Let's do a print statement. App did finish launching. Okay, that's that one. And then we'll do one here. And then we'll say app configuration for connecting options. Let's do that, rerun it, and let's see what order it actually runs in. Now, I could have read the documentation. That's probably what I would recommend here, is just, read the documentation that they give you. It's boring, it's maybe dry, but this is another way you can do it, is just experiment, put in these print statements. So if you look at the bottom, I got app did finish launching, then I got the app configuration for connecting, so I know I'm doing one and then the other. Great, cool. So I'm on the right path. So let's take this out. Okay, and I'll stop what I'm running here. And I have some of the code already ready to go. So let me pull that up real quick. All right, so now I've updated it. And what I have here, you'll see, is a configuration I'm making. And it's got a name, I'll put it on separate lines. And the role I'm just passing in from what came with the connecting session. Again, I'm not going to get too much into what a scene delegate is, or scene configurations or scenes in general. And then I need to set the class. So this is the part here where it's like, well, what is this thing? So this is for the future. So I'm going to comment this out for a moment. But I just want to show you config.delegate class. I need something here. So I'm going to put my scene delegate .self. And I'll show you what that looks like. So now we do class and my scene delegate. I'm just going to put it right in the same file. It's really easy to just throw it in. Okay. All right. And it needs to be a UI scene delegate. So this is a protocol, right? And it actually, yeah, so we have some conformance issues here. So it's saying we need to be an NS object instead. So I need a base class, which is going to be my NS object. That's just how a lot of UIKit stuff works in iOS. If you want to integrate with some of their, because they do this thing where it's like optional conformance and you don't have to implement all the methods, that kind of thing. So this is all probably actually implemented in Objective-C, and then they're calling your Swift through a bridge. That's a totally different topic. Let's not go there. Anyways, got the MyScene delegate, right? Okay, cool. So great. No more compiler issues, right? Let's build it. All right. Now let's actually take a look at the scene delegate here. Another thing you could do is on the right-hand side, pop open the help here. There's your scene delegate. Let's say open up in the developer documentation, right? All right. So here it is, 13, right? Cool. So here's the thing. So this is not being used or called anywhere right now. So we're actually fine, and we're on iOS 13. But let's change our simulator to the 11.4. Now let's run it. So a moment ago, I didn't have any build errors, right? But it did tell me like something about like do an NS object or something like that. So here we are. And all right, cool. So everything seems to be working just fine. We're on iOS 11.4, but now we need this scene thing to start working. So actually, I just want to show you how to like get it started and get it going. But what I really do want is to pull this into its own separate file. Yeah. But another thing I'm going to want here too, to get this scene stuff going, is I really need this like line 23 through 36-ish. I need that to be in its like own file. So that's kind of like my first step, is like not just finding what it is I want. Like I guess I could have written this first, but now I have like two classes in the same file. It might start to get messy. Let's start organizing it, because I can see a little bit, a couple steps ahead. I can see where this is going. I'm going to need this code, and it's going to need to be repeated somewhere in this delegate here. All right, so I think it is scene will connect. Now I do another print statement. All right, let's run it. Oh, now we got another compiler issue. So we didn't get this with the UI scene delegate. I wonder if the compiler's smart enough to say, well, this isn't being referenced anywhere where I know what the other types are. I don't know. There's something there that's helping us with that. But notice UI scene session, another UI scene with an inner type here. It's not really working well for us. It's telling us it needs to be on iOS 13 or newer. So you saw how I did it on the method here, but now I can do it on the class. So at available iOS 13, comma star. Remember that comma star part. All right. So we do that, build again, and run. Good to go. Let's go back to the 13 here. I just want to show you something real quick. Let me take that available away and just do a build. So this is pretty cool. Even though you're using the 13 simulator, it's actually going to warn you and say like, hey, I know you're about to like run this on the simulator that's 13 and up, but you set the minimum deployment target to something lower. So that's just not going to work. And to spare us the issue of trying to figure out like, when does this actually happen? Is this working? I actually made my own class for this. So I took this, copy and pasted it, put it in its own file and class. It didn't have to be in its own file. That's just what I decided to do. And this is what it looks like. So I just called it scene delegate. Not a very creative name. So let's go back, take this part out. See if I run. Got to get this going here. That's the scene delegate. It's going to call that same method, the will connect to. I have a nice little print statement here, printing out all these different things about the session and the options. So I'll just give you a quick overview of what's going on. So I'm checking to see if the scene is not just a UI scene, but a window scene. So a window scene is a subclass of UI scene. And then I actually instantiate another window and set that as the view controller. Then I keep a reference to that window here that I've made for the scene delegate. Make it key invisible, just like how I did in the app delegate. Yeah. So now you can see that there's like repeating code. So actually what's going to happen is we're going to launch, we're going to set up this, whatever it is, this, I guess you call it like the, just like the root view controller, which ends up being this navigation controller with a tab bar controller as its root view controller. Crazy. So puts that in and then calls it here. Yeah, so it's starting to get a little strange or complicated. So what I decided to do is actually move this into its own file. So that's what I called in step 1 here. So I took just the approach of make a global function because all I need is that initial view controller. I don't need to know what its type is. There's no special methods I'm calling on it. I just need to construct this, create this, and then return it back in whatever structure it wants to be. So I did that. So I'm going to do that in here. So what I need to do, take this part, okay? And then I say root view controller, it's the global function, take all this other stuff away. Yeah, there we go. Now I need to do the same thing in my scene delegate. So I did do that. See, here it is. Almost the same line of code on both sides. So next step. Let's run this on iOS 13. Let's just see what happens. Okay, so that seemed just fine, I guess. I don't know. But I think the goal here is that you want to try and make this you want to make it exactly the same for both, or you want to try and reuse as much code as possible, but at some point there has to be a deviation. So let me go here to the latest iOS and I'll run it on that simulator. I don't know if we're going to see it, but something I saw when I pulled this up was I saw like the interface come up with like the red background and then it disappeared and then something went on top of it. Yeah, I saw that. So I don't know. Not really sure how to explain this one. Let it keep running here. Maybe it'll catch up. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So if I look down at the bottom, I did finish launching, and then I have that scene will connect running. But I'm instantiating this, I guess what I'm dubbing as the tab bar controller. So I went to the tab bar controller, and all I need to do is for like the view did load is put a print method here, right? Tab bar view did load. And that's going to run twice. I'm not going to run it because I just know it does. I've tried it. So it puts it on the screen, makes it visible, and then it immediately takes it off the screen and does the scene part, right? So we don't want that. At least that's not what we're going for. So how do we keep the old version running with the new version? So what you might think is like, oh, I don't need this part, right? Take this out. Now run this on iOS 14. So here it is. All right, so I didn't have the black screen anymore, so that's cool. And oh, look at that. That seems to be working just fine. Cool. And iOS 13, it will run just as good there. But let's run iOS 11.4. Well, what we're going to find is that we're here. This is it, black screen. So it's strange. There's differences in the iOS versions. So how do you go about fixing this? Or like, how do you go about reasoning about what you need to be doing? Well, we know that this code here is the code that we know will work all the time, either one. But you're looking to get this new feature in, the scene delegate stuff, which requires a slightly different setup, and it's the scene delegate that is now holding onto the window. So you're not going to have the one window all the time. So you're going to have to deviate. You're going to have to know at runtime which iOS version you're on. So what we need to do is we're going to use an if statement. We're going to use a conditional. So if pound available. Yeah, so this is a special one. So it's very similar to the at available, but now it's pound available because you're running it in code. So it's not just, this is more declarative. This is more like procedural, like you're doing it inline. So iOS and 13 and up. So for iOS 13 and up, we're going to use the scene delegate. How do we get to that? Well, we just didn't do anything. We just returned true. So all this stuff that needs to work for the older, let's be newer iOS 13 and up, older iOS 11 and 12. We take this code, put it in there. That's what we're going to do. From here on out, they'll actually be working. Now, the at available, while it's loading, I'll let you know. You could put in macOS, tvOS, watchOS, whatever. Whatever you think's right. So here it is, running on iOS 11. Oh yeah, look, works again. It's got the same features as before. It looks like we still need some work because of the double navigation bars there. So there's a couple ways to get around that. I don't know, maybe we could use that as a feature. I don't know. That is up to you to decide. But yeah, so add available for the method declarations. You could also put it on classes, as we saw. You can also put it on properties. You can put it on extensions. You can put it in a lot of different places where you're declaring a type. You could even do a type alias. Watch this. Type alias Ricky integer. There we go. So now if I want to make an integer Ricky equals 1, notice, oh, I guess print, I'll just print x. There we go. All right, so let's say it is only available for iOS 13 and up. Or like here, even let's do iOS 14 and up, right? Well, here it is. It's only available for iOS 14 and newer. So what could we do? Well, we wrap it in the if. That's what we do. Now, if I wanted to, or for some reason I need to use this type in the scene delegate, right? Like what if we had to do this? Well, now I need to check here if pound available iOS 14 and up, then I can use that. Else, maybe do nothing else. So I'll just drop the else. But that would work. See, no complaints, but if I drop this, see, it's declared as iOS 13, but now I'm still using inside of its methods another check to see, oh, are we even further along than iOS 13? This is just when it was introduced. And this is us going further and upgrading it further. So yeah, so thanks for watching, guys. If you have questions about this, let me know. I can even send you some articles I've read about this, and just experiment. I believe this is also in the book for Swift, so you guys can go ahead and read that. But as you're going to WWDC, looking at all the new stuff, and you want to try it out, but you want to see what it looks like with older versions of iOS, this is going to be a tool you're going to definitely need to know. You're going to need to navigate it and know all of your options. So, take advantage of it. Try things out. All right, have a good one. Later.